Hello crafty friends, welcome back to my channel. I have a super cute video for you today, creating an adorable fairy garden using some products that I picked up on a recent trip to America where I spent an extortionate amount of time in Michael's, and I picked up this little planter which had a little bit of damage in my suitcase on the way home, but no problem, I managed to super glue it back together. And if you follow me on Twitter, you will have seen my tweet about how I got super glue all over my hands. But there we go, it was worth it because I managed to glue this piece back together. And today I am going to go ahead and create that fairy garden scene. So I'm adding some these are hydro balls. I actually already had these and the soil. I didn't pick those up when I was in Michael's. They would have been a little bit heavy to bring back home, and my suitcase was heavy enough without those. So I've gone ahead and put them into the bottom to create a drainage area, and that will be really useful if I do end up adding succulents to this planter. You definitely could have used some succulents in the design I'm doing today, but I wanted to keep it just with these adorable little decorative pieces, which I'll get into in just a minute. But this way, because I've added the drainage balls and the soil, everything's kind of pre-prepped for when I want to switch this out and add some plants. So they had so many adorable pieces in Michael's. These are all the Ashland brand, and I spent such a long time looking at these and trying to figure out exactly what I wanted for this garden and what kind of theme I wanted it to have. With February and Valentine's Day being just around the corner, they had a whole bunch of adorable little loved up couples and puppies and a lot of like wedding decor. And I could have bought one of everything and just made fairy gardens for the rest of the year, but unfortunately my wallet and my suitcase allowance wouldn't accommodate that. So I just picked up the pieces that I'm showing you on screen here, and I've kind of flipped the camera angle so you can see what I'm doing. It's nothing too fancy. I've gone ahead and put in a heart-shaped pond that has a little frog, and then I have the red heart arbor and my little gnomes on the inside. And I decided to go for the red and the pink gnomes that were holding hands and kissing. And then to bring in some more of the yellow to coordinate with the trees, I brought in the ducks as well. So here I'm just going to go ahead and add in some moss. I'm not adding it in underneath the pond, but I'm just kind of filling in all of the gaps that you can see underneath where the gnomes will be and really kind of pressing it into all of the little gaps. And you could definitely just keep this in place once you started to plant as well. It wouldn't cause any issues if you pulled the pond out and added some succulents, or if you added some teeny tiny succulents in those spaces between that moss. So I have the three little trees, and these are so very sweet. They kind of remind me of, those paper trees that you would put into water and it sucks up the water and then it kind of blooms and blossoms. Kind of reminds me of those. It's not that texture, it is more durable, but they're very sweet with the two shades of pink and the yellow. So my aim was to try and make sure that I had all of my colours coordinating nicely. So I've got the red on Mr. Gnome and then the red on the arbor. I've got the green of the moss and the green of the frog, the pinks to go with Mrs. Gnome, and then the yellow on the ducklings to kind of pull in the yellow of that other tree and just add another pop of colour. And then I wanted to add in another texture. So I have these teeny tiny little river rocks, and I decided to make a path for the gnomes to stand on underneath the arbor where they are stood kissing. I just think it looks so very sweet. As I mentioned, there was so much to choose from to create these scenes. You could really go to town, and they had some much larger kind of receptacles for you to build in as well, ranging from kind of natural looking ones like this tree stump to really big kind of tin versions as well. And they're just a blast. If you've never created something like this, I think it's a great thing to do, and you don't have to put plants in there, so it doesn't have to be something that you are concerned about caring for and the maintenance. You could just create one like this which will hold up exactly as is. So speaking of holding up, I've gone ahead and added my little pot of flowers and then added some super glue. I didn't get any on my hands this time, but I've added some super glue to the bottom of each of my little duckies just to help them stay in place on the pond. And then this is finished. So I'll go ahead and run you through some close-ups and some still shots so you can see how everything came together. I think this is super sweet and it just works perfectly for Valentine's Day, whether you use it as a centerpiece, a home decor piece, or if you gift it to somebody. So thank you so much for joining me on today's video. If you are new here, then you can go ahead and click on my logo to subscribe. And if you're already subscribed, you could go ahead and tap the bell icon to be notified of my videos. Thanks so much for joining me today. I hope to see you again soon. Bye for now.